Good morning and happy Radiography Week. Of course, it's once again a pleasure to be joining you right here on set. And before I introduce these persons joining me, of course, I say welcome to Mikey G as well.
Of course, Lady Elise, I am privileged to be here in the studios with you this morning, and of course, our honored guests that are here. And of course, as you said, it's Radiology Week, and we are celebrating it with the Cayman Islands radiologists across the Cayman Islands today. So, having said that, I'll turn it back over to you, and of course, to hear from our guests this morning, some of the things that they have been up to and what they have been doing in the healthcare sector right here in the Grand Cape.
Well, I am happy that you started the conversation in that way because, of course, that will allow us to explore what radiology and radiography and imaging, what it entails. So before we delve deep in the conversation, however, I will allow our guests joining us live here in studio to introduce themselves. I will not introduce them. I will allow my guests to go ahead and introduce themselves. Let's start with the gentleman on my, I don't know my left or my right, my right.
Good morning, all. My name is Romain Walters. I am a radiographer, sonographer. I have approximately 18 years experience in the profession. I work with the Health Services Authority. Been working with Health Services Authority for the past 10 years. It's a pleasure serving the people of the Cayman Islands.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Christopher Henry, a radiographer for over 9 years, who's been a part of the radiology community in different modalities such as MRI, CT, ultrasound, intervention, and more.
And of course, we have two lovely ladies joining us as well.
Okay, hello, my name is Ashara Walker. I have about 20 years experience in radiography. I do practice multiple modalities as well, including x-rays, CT scans, mammography, ultrasound, and others. I've been in love with radiography because it's my passion, and I'm so happy to be here to speak about my profession and to share knowledge about what radiography and radiology is all about.
Hello, my name is Krista Bevans. I am a student. I'm currently in my third year and I'm doing a rotation for a 6-month internship at the HSA here.
Welcome, everyone. We are certainly feeling so honored to have you in our presence. But what would cause you all to join us? It's not because of the goodness of your heart and you're wondering, can I just come to Flashpoint Media and sit down and have a chat? Why are we having this conversation? Somebody please tell me what this is all about.
Okay, so this week we're celebrating World Radiography's Week. And we have the International Day of Radiography, Radiology, on November 8, 18. Actually, X-rays were discovered on November 8, 1895. So it's been 130 years that we've been using X-rays, and medical imaging started by using X-rays to image different parts of the body. The field has grown vastly, and especially now in the digital age, we have many different modalities coming on stream. And this week we're celebrating our profession. The medical imaging profession is not so widely known, so we want to take this opportunity to spread the word about radiology, especially here in the Cayman Islands. because we know that a lot of young persons are coming up thinking about what profession they would like to pursue, and radiology is really a viable profession where there are many exciting things that can be experienced in this profession.
So, to our listeners and viewers, there are times when we think of radiography. The only thing that comes to mind is I'm going to go have an X-ray done. But the conversation so far, has opened so many areas. I hear you talking about modalities and all of that. I want you to break it down so that the average listener can understand what it entails. You're talking about 18 years, 10 years, baby in the profession. I love the extent, the representation here, and you're talking about x-rays, CT, MRI. Now, somebody tell me what really encompasses radiography.
Well, generally, I would say radiography encompasses imaging generally, so it doesn't necessarily mean that we're just going to use x-rays. What we're really concerned about, or the aim is to really focus on seeing something internally. We can always use our eyes to see things externally, to see if there's a ward or something, but internally we need to have a clear idea as to know whether things are okay, or if it's a case where there's some form of abnormality going on for us to be able to treat it.
All right, so explain then when you mention modalities, you mention imaging. What are the very various types of images that come under the umbrella, the wide umbrella of radiography?
So radiography is wide, as you know, as mentioned. And if you've ever walked into a radiology department and had an X-ray done, which is what everybody is mostly exposed to, but there's a number of modalities. And when we speak of modalities, we're speaking about the different types of services offered under radiology. So you may have had sonogram done, which is what we call an ultrasound. You may have had a CAT scan done, which is what we call CT scans. You may have had a mammogram done. You may have had a fluoroscopic procedure done. You may have had an MRI done. You may have had an interventional procedure done. These are some of the modalities that we offer, and we specialize in to provide imaging of internal parts of the body. I usually refer to radiology as eyes on the exterior that sees on the interior. And if you ever seen the interior, we are the persons who allow you to, in a nutshell. Yeah.
I love that explanation because sometimes, we talk about what we see on the outside to judge what is on the inside. But sometimes we are so wrong, we are so dead wrong. And the thing about it is that information is crucial to your healthcare. What's happening on the inside? So I say congratulations to you for being in the profession, but what I see here is the continual learning. I see everyone has their feet wet in so many modalities, and that is what the physician relies on to give the appropriate information so that you can get the right treatment, you can have the proper medicine. Now I'll ask the ladies, where do you see radiography going in the future? I like the fact that we have a radiographer in training, right? And then she is being mentored by professions who are, I'd say, very well-rounded, talking about CT, MRI, fluoroscopy, all the different things that is involved in imaging. What's the future? What is it looking like? Is it bright?
Okay, so I think that the future of radiology is very bright.
Yes.
We have so many new approaches to imaging coming on stream, and now with AI coming on stream as well, there are endless possibilities. But with regards to what we have now, a student who is just starting in the profession would be exposed to basic x-rays, and then there is scope for growth, for lifelong learning, for being able to do vast amount of imaging studies that most persons aren't really aware of. We have been venturing into various parts of interventional radiology, and that part has been growing leaps and bounds, where we do vascular imaging. Now, for example, when somebody has a stroke, we are the team that gets called in, because you have the radiographer and the radiologist who work closely together in the interventional field. And if somebody has a stroke, they have to move quickly to identify where that blockage usually is, and then they go right into a procedure where they're able to go directly to that blockage and clear it, and that person has a chance of good recovery.
Now, you mentioned radiology and radiography, and the radiographer sharing the information with the radiologist. And I know there is an importance for the multidisciplinary approach. Just explain to the listener, what's the difference between the radiologist and the radiographer?
Okay, so the radiologist is the doctor, the medical doctor who specializes in radiology. So he or she is responsible for providing reports on the different imaging that we do as radiographers. So now the radiographers are the medical imaging profession. So we are the ones who interact with the patients, who get the images done, and who manipulate the images so that we can send them to the radiologist to provide reports. In the field of ultrasound, it goes a step further, because the ultrasonographer provides preliminary reports, information, so that we actually have a little bit more responsibility in giving the radiologist more information. While in x-rays and CT scans, we produce the images and the radiologist will make the diagnosis from that. In ultrasound, we have to be aware of what the patient is, what kind of illness or situation that the patient is in, so that we can guide the radiologist. So I'm always in awe, because as radiographers, we're the ones who guide the doctors to find the problems and to give the proper solution and medication and information, so that they can give the patient the best outcome.
Very important. 3 years in as a student, Krista. 3 years. Tell us, how does that feel? Are you in that mode that you're excited? You are not feeling daunted. Right here beside me is someone with 18 years of experience and still going strong, still learning more. You are 3 years a student. What has the experience been like for you, and what are you looking forward to as you step into this very rich field?
So initially, I was very overwhelmed by the information that I did not know as a student, which I feel is maybe something that other people can relate to, being a student as well.
Yes.
So, um, however, during my rotation, I was placed with very patient individuals who are also willing to teach me.
Yes.
And that helped me realize that they're also constantly learning. So it's not a bad thing to not know. It's okay to figure it out as you're going along.
Wonderful. And I'm expecting that your time here will be a rich one and you will just gather as much information as you can from these persons that have been immersed in the field for a very long time. Now, I want you all to just reach and dig deep at this point. I know that for individuals, sometimes coming to the x-ray department or coming to the radiology department can be a daunting experience.
You know,
All these equipment, they are just huge and some of them make sounds and all of that. Um, Recognizing this, how do you relate to patients? I know it's imaging, but for persons coming in, it can be an anxious. What reassurance? There are persons here, they're looking at us and seeing some of us in white coats, and immediately our blood pressure start to climb. What encouragement? Chris, take that one.
No, definitely. Well, empathy is the number one thing for sure.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, persons are now moving, as Ashara said, towards AI,
Yes.
artificial intelligence. But there's one thing that artificial intelligence cannot have, and that's empathy.
Yeah.
So we need to ensure that we are empathizing with our patients. We try to give them as much information as possible before the scan, so that they're aware of what they're going to go into. Through doing that, that will kind of bring down the blood pressure. At least they'll have a mental idea as to what to expect. And during the procedure, that's when we hold the hands. We try to be as empathetic as possible in ensuring that they have a successful scan. Also, with regards to AI, I just wanted to add that yes, persons might be concerned about certain things with regards to it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a taboo or it's a bad thing with regards to it, because what this means is that we'll be more equipped and more ready to be able to tend to our patients. We'll be more empathetic because what AI does is assist. So I don't even like to say AI means artificial intelligence. I rather say it's more augmented. So it's more augmented intelligence where we are able to use AI as well as our empathy into ensuring that the patient gets the best treatment.
And that's the optimal goal. The goal is that the patient will get well and get the right diagnosis. You can jump in on this one as well, Romain.
Yes, I think when a patient walks into any hospital, they are unaware of what the news may be, right? So when a patient comes to me, I'm usually very open.
Right.
I am usually a good reader of people, so my initial interaction with the patient is usually with a smile, just to see how receptive the patient may be with that, because we don't know what frame of mind they're in. So it's very important to be empathetic in these situations, especially with our geriatric patients, because a lot of these patients, we don't know what is happening in their heads, right? So it is very important that we interact with them on a professional, but in a very caring way, because this is why we're here anyway, to provide this service and to show the human side of us. Yeah.
Very important. And as I sit here, I'm in a very reflective mode. And a reflective mode because recently we know that a few Caribbean islands, Jamaica, we were impacted by a Category 5 hurricane. And certainly, we know that the health field is going to be called upon in a more um, unique way at this time. And imaging is going to be a big deal, right? Radiographers, you're going to have to be having a cape because then the sheer amount of um, issues and injuries alone can be quite overwhelming. You have to put on your cape. You mentioned serving with a smile, you know, greeting the patient with a smile because sometimes it's hard work. And when you mention the fact that you're not doing one modality, you're thinking about X-rays, ultrasound, MRI, and other interventional stuff that you're called upon. How do you navigate when all this comes down and the fact that you have this workload, 10, and you have to be accurate. You have what? So many things to do and to correlate. Over to you, Ashara. How do you maneuver?
Um, One of the main things, teamwork is vital in
Yes,
radiography, because even though you have one person doing multiple modalities,
yes,
we work closely together with each other so that we can streamline the patient flow. We can make sure that the patient gets
yes.
the care that they need, because we recognize that it's not like a conveyor belt
Ah,
where patients come in and then go out and they don't,
stamp and go.
yes, no stamping and going, right?
No,
We have to treat each patient as individuals,
yes,
and we sometimes when the patient comes, we have to take a minute to appreciate that this patient is going through a lot. So sometimes the workflow might go a little differently because we have to appreciate each patient's condition. But the important thing is teamwork. So when one radiographer is attending to a patient, another one has to go and make sure that the next person who is coming in is aware of what is happening, and we work together as a team so that we can streamline the patient flow and make sure that everybody gets the care, the attention, and the proper imaging that is needed. Because even though we're going to have to go a little faster, accuracy is
yes.
vital, because we want to make sure that each patient gets the the proper care and the information is passed on so that they can get the treatment that they need, because what we need now is for more healing, because we understand that it's not just physical injuries that people are facing now, a lot of mental injuries, a lot of mental anguish, because so many things have happened in the passage of Hurricane Melissa. And even though we're here in the Cayman Islands, the Jamaican community is like our next door neighbor. A lot of us here in the Cayman Islands have family members, and even our whole families back in Jamaica, back home in Jamaica. So even while we are attending to our patients, we ourselves are going through things, but we have to make sure that we put out our best for our patients at all times.
I'm glad you mentioned that. And when I mentioned the Cape, I I do understand that with all that's happening, you have to sometimes navigate caring for others and sometimes to the detriment of ourselves. But I hope that you will find that time as radiographers during this week. It is a whole week of activity, but you should incorporate some self-care in this. Now, I want you to speak to me as to what is all the activities. I know every single year in the week of November, there are a lot of activities happening. Just share with us what these activities look like and how the community can participate. And while you're doing it, what is one thing? Just think about it, have it at the back of your head or somewhere. What is one thing that you would like to share with our viewing and listening audience? We have persons listening on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all the social media platforms. They are listening to us here on Flashpoint Media Breakfast Hour. What is that one thing that you would want to share with them as they learn about radiography uh, and what they can take away from the conversation?
Okay, first let's go with the
Yes.
activities that are planned for us here in the Cayman Islands for this week. So we do have an association of medical imaging professionals where radiographers and imaging professionals all over the island have a platform where we come together and we plan activities for the week. So this year, the Radiology Week will go from the 1st of November to the 8th of November. And we always start with a church service because we want the blessing to be upon us as we go through. And we recognize that everything that we do, we're like the hands and feet of the Lord as we minister to others in our profession, right? So we have to make sure that we acknowledge that God is the one that's blessing us. And we have a church service plan for the 1st of November at the Georgetown Seventh-day Adventist Church. We're also planning to have a school impact where we're going to go to the Cayman Academy School to have some information disseminated so that the students will have information about the profession of radiography and radiology so that they can, because we know especially the high school students, those who are going towards doing their CXC exams or GCE exams, they want to have an idea of what professions they would want to pursue, and we want to make sure that radiology is a viable profession among the youth coming up and those who are in school, and we can guide them as to what subjects they can do to prepare to go into the field of radiography. We have a radio broadcast with another radio station on the 4th of November. And also in the evening of the 4th of November, we're going to have what we call a continuing medical education, CME presentation. It is geared towards radiographers and radiologists. However, members of the medical field are also invited because that is where we're going to share information about what we're doing in radiology. Some of the topics will be shared on that day, the 4th of November. We have this broadcast on the 5th of November, and it's a pleasure to be here, Lady Elise. and Mikey G, right?
I know. I've not been asking too many questions or having too many questions because I'm just listening to the conversation, and I am learning a little bit more about the whole radiology department and the people who work there. And you know, it is fascinating to see the equipment. I just spoke about the AI and the intervention of AI. It got my attention very much, and of course, I appreciated the explanation by one of our presenters this evening, this morning, to say how it is that AI will be incorporated
Yes.
and will actually be useful, but not the all in all.
Yes.
However, my concerns is always more. I won't voice those concerns now, but as I see AI advance, I see the lessening of the actual physical human need, or what you call the human resource in this matter. And so it is a concern of mine. But as we go forward, it is a technology that we are looking at, and we can't fight against what's happening, our technology, because it is what brought us to this point. However, as humans, we must have our own concerns as how we see the navigation of this new era in terms of the job market and, of course, the fact that AI has been one of the biggest and the main tools that have been activated. The question is, how many persons are we studying then in AI technology as adding it to a part of the overall course of study to be on par with other international or other countries that are first world?
The thing though in radiology, there's a special arm dedicated to research and technology, where um, in different, especially more first world countries, that's the first place that the technologies, the new technologies, will be rolled out and tested and implemented, and then as they're being fine tuned, then we will start applying them to our use of imaging. However, I still don't think we should be fearful of the application of AI, because what it does, it helps our
Augments.
profession. It helps us to be more accurate with our diagnosis. It helps us to have clearer images. It helps us to be more efficient with our imaging. And those are the things that we're seeing and we're appreciating about AI. So and the thing is, AI is the technology of the future. And if we want to go forward in our profession, we have to embrace it and use it to our advantage and not be fearful of it taking over. I'm not fearful,
Well,
because just as my colleague said, AI cannot empathize, and that human touch is vital in caring for patients. And if a patient doesn't have someone to be able to be with them through their struggles, through their imaging, through their treatment, then the care is missing something. And that is where we as radiographers come in. We're that person standing by the patient, doing the imaging, providing the the information for diagnosis, and being there to support the patient through their processes.
all
So
right.
that is the importance of a radiographer at this time and in the future. So
I would say in the future, in terms of what I would say here, is that there once upon a time was that we had friends who was next door. But now we are friends 10,000 miles away, and somebody sitting beside you don't know who it is. I am fearful that this will be the case, that we'll be so immersed in something that basically is so needed, and then excludes that emotional aspect of our treatment that we would want, and then it would go unnoticed. This is just me saying, because I've seen what technology has done so far in terms of just friendship, just people in family. You are sitting in a room and everybody's on a cell phone texting each other, and the person is right next to you. You don't know the name, you don't know who they are, and you have never been introduced, but you are a friend with somebody in China or Timbuktu, and you have never seen them before, but you are the best friends to that person, but never connected to the person right next door to you. I'm saying, as technology evolves and as it increases and as we get more at it, I am only asking for us to be at least a little more concerned with the factors that you placed in there, that there's a place and a room for human care and intervention in all of this.
that's right. And what you touched on is a human condition right across the board, where with the advent of the digital means, it's not just AI. With all the digital means, people are getting less and less personal. But I think it boils down to a personality thing too, because even when I go into a strange place, I still smile. I still try to acknowledge the persons who have their head up from their devices, right? So it's something that we have to practice as individuals, because even with everything that is going on, we have to be humans first. We have to be caring individuals first. And being a part of the healthcare field, caring is a vital part of it. So if you are in the healthcare field and you're not a caring individual, then it is gonna be a very hard field for you to matriculate in.
Thank you so much. It's so important. I am here thinking about an interaction I had with a radiographer at HSA, and I was anxious. I was feeling so anxious. And I know a number of our listeners can identify with a moment where, despite your good efforts, the moment you feel that something isn't quite right in your body, it sparks that anxiety. And then you are suddenly, you say, like in a chain, you go to see your physician, but the physician cannot answer the question alone. So he calls on the radiographer and some imaging, and then you're going into a cold room sometimes and cold equipment
And
sometimes
sometimes dark.
and sometimes dark, sometimes strange sounds. And with all the knowledge, it still breeds that sort of anxiety. And you make the world of a difference.
Amen.
Each of you make it easier. I had a conversation with a radiographer, and I don't know. I didn't need any meds. I brought calming meds, but after the conversation, I was much better. So I applaud you on the profession and what you do to help us as patients.
All right.
Yes.
As you mentioned, Lady Elise,
Yes.
the care that our radiographers give to the wider population. The question that comes to my mind is, when I go to do my X-rays and stuff, and they give me these suits to wear.
What suits?
Right. So they have some lead suits that they put across some places that they don't want to be affected.
Oh, yes. That's a good question.
Right. And so I'm placing. I don't want to say which parts. Some parts.
It could be a thyroid. Mikey G.
Yeah, thyroids, right?
Yes.
Right, the thyroid.
Yes.
So I'm happy that you
Shield.
place them there, because I mean, when I go in, they always put it on, and I like to feel it, you know.
On your thyroid.
Where my thyroid's at, right?
Yes.
But the question I'm asking is this. The question I'm asking is this, all right? We are being cared for, but who takes care of you? Right? Here's the question. And in this sense, self-care. How do you protect yourself from all this amount of, because
X-rays?
yes.
Yes.
How do you protect yourself? My mind went there because I know what you do, and how much it can impact, because
Romaine.
someone, right? So anyone can take this one. I'm just going to just leave it.
Romaine has been selected.
So,
Treat him like a patient, Romaine. with care and
So-
compassion.
so we're trained professionals, and we went for tertiary level training in order to learn how to use this radiation. We know the benefits that it has, and we know the effects that it can possibly have. So there are equipments that are provided to ensure that certain organs which we consider are vital or more sensitive to radiation, that they're protected. This is where these suits, in quotation,
for the thyroids.
are introduced and to the patients, so that the patients can be protected. We're also protected because each time, if you've ever had an X-ray, for example, and you see us go to a little area, that little area is protected with what we call lead. These little glasses, shields are protected with lead, and lead will stop radiation at a certain speed from getting through to you. So we are protected. We are also monitored. We have some little devices that we wear on our bodies daily that records our exposure to the radiation uh, so that we are also taken care of. Because we work with it every day, we need to be able to track how much of it we get. And I also know, let me just add this, that radiation may be taboo to a lot of people because they don't know how to use it. But a lot of us are exposed to radiation daily from just being out in the sun. And we don't have any monitoring for that,
Television.
right? Television or cell phones or different equipment that we may have in our homes, in our work, etc. But we who work with the raw thing, we ensure that we're protected. We're trained to protect ourselves from these things. So if you should end up having an x-ray, please ask for these suits. It is there for you. And we will provide these suits. All right?
That's quite reassuring. As we wrap up the conversation, I will go back to that question that I will ask each of you to share with a listener, a viewer, one takeaway you want from the conversation. It could be a word of encouragement for someone out there who is thinking of radiography as a profession. It could be any statement, one thing that you have learned from your experience in the profession that you want to share at this time.
Okay, well, at first, I start by saying that, well, it's a fun fact. So, X-rays, persons always mention X-rays, but I doubt most persons even know how the term X-ray even came about.
Yes.
Right? So, Sir Röntgen, who is the father of it all, what he did was he was basically playing with radiation, and he realized that something was being emitted when he actually exposed. So because he was unable to come up with a proper name, he was like, this is unknown. I don't know what to call this. So let me just call it X. Yeah, for now. And then it just sticked. So yeah. So that's how X-ray came about. He literally did not know what to name it. So he just gave it a letter. Yeah. So with regards to that, things evolve and we moved from X-rays to other modalities, and how I would put it is it's like a kaleidoscope. Everything works, like most modalities work together. So even though someone might come to a department for an X-ray, sometimes they realize that they're sent to do a next test, because each test provides something specific, so don't be fearful if your physician requests more than one scan, because at the end of the day, they're trying to pinpoint, trying to get things, diagnostic. They're trying to diagnose. So having more than one test done, especially in the radiology department, is not necessarily a bad thing. Patients might have questions, but once you speak with the professionals that are actually in the department, I'm sure you get the answers that you actually need.
Thank you. And
Something-
you, Romain?
My final word would be, if you are an empathetic person, if you're a caring person, if you have a need to serve, and you think that radiography, radiology, even if you decide that you want to use a specific modality to serve, and you are convicted somehow, it's a rewarding profession. You get to see the benefits from just your patients, how expressive they are, how thankful they are. Sometimes when they come back to say they are thankful for how they were treated, how they were dealt with by the profession. It is rewarding, so don't be fearful. It may seem like it's a lot initially, but it's a very rewarding place to be. It's a very comforting place to be too, especially when you have that training, that understanding of how you are serving your people, your fellow humans. Thank you.
Awesome.
So I guess my advice would be to other students as well. I don't know, I think it can be challenging at first, but overall, I think if you stay curious and open-minded, it's a nice profession to be involved in for that reason, and to keep practicing and not being afraid to make mistakes, and ask questions when you need to.
Okay. What I'd like to share is that we come under the umbrella of radiology, and it began with X-rays, which is radiation. However, we have multiple modalities or imaging tools that do not use radiation. For example, we have ultrasound that uses sound waves to produce images. We have MRI that use magnetism and radio waves to produce images. We have so many ways of producing images that is outside of using X-rays. And so when you come to the radiology department, don't think that everything that you do in the radiology department involves the use of X-ray or radiation, because we do use other means of producing images that are not radiation based. And also, with radiography, with radiology, with medical imaging, it is, as my colleagues say, a rewarding profession. I knew that I wanted to do something in the field of medicine, and I wasn't aware that radiography was an option. But I'm glad the day that they said to me, hey, think about this. And I cannot see myself in any other profession other than radiology at this point in time. And I'm so happy to be able to serve, happy to be able to hold people's hand through their situations, and I'm most of all happy when I'm able to help somebody to find what it is that is causing their issue, and to help them so that they can get to a place of healing. And that is very, very, very rewarding for me.
Awesome. So I trust everyone has learned something. Mikey G, I certainly have learned a lot this morning. And as we wrap up this conversation, I want to say thank you, each of you. Thank you, Ashara, Krista, Christopher, and of course, Romaine, for joining me here in the studio. We certainly have benefited. I want to wish you a happy Radiography Week. And I hope this will be the beginning of an awesome year to come, where you will continue to serve your patients well, and also to take care of yourself as you bloom and blossom. We have learned about X-rays, CT, MRI, mammography, sonography, and so much more, fluoroscopy. All these words, if you did not understand any of these words, there is room for you to learn, because Radiography Week offers that sort of information. So you have to stay connected. These radiographers are going to be in church, they're going to be in a radio station, they're going to be everywhere this week. So you have to stay connected with them. Thank you for joining them. And I'm sure Mikey G, what do you have to say about the AI?
Well, I know, I'm not going to talk about AI anymore, but I want to say thank you guys for coming in this morning and to bless us with such a wealth of information. We are definitely, at this point, really happy to hear the need that we have for the technology that you provide for our healthcare. Of course, as our listeners and our viewers listen this morning, I hope that you also learned something. And of course, it says early detection is best prevention. Of course, go out and check your physicians, check out, get tested, and of course, as the HSA and other providers are providing this service, please go out. Don't be ignorant to your health, and of course, take care of yourself. I want to thank everyone for joining us this morning. Remember, our web radio continues all day. It's on www.flashpointmedia.ky, and we had a wonderful time here this morning. So much information, and we had some really talent.
I think we need to do an X-ray.
CT.
Oh, a CT.
We have
need
what we call a brain freeze, so here we go.
we
have
can unfreeze
experts.
it with some
We have experts in the
rays.
field, in this field to this morning, and so, wow. And so with the experts that we have in the field, we are thankful that you have studied in all of this to provide this service for us.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Of course, to our listeners and viewers this morning, thank you for joining us as well. Final words from you, Lady Elise.
Yes. I want to say again, I can't say thank you enough. It has been an amazing conversation. Happy Radiography Week. And of course, I wish you all the best. Listeners and viewers, stay connected to Flashpoint, www.flashpointmedia.ky. Have yourself a wonderful day.
When you need ultrasound that's safe and effective, you must visit Asai Ultrasound Imaging. They're conveniently located at number 4 Chestnut Center, Smith Road, Georgetown, Cayman Islands. With experienced technologists with over 20 years experience, their friendly staff will make you comfortable while you get your procedure done. Asai Ultrasound Imaging is open Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Call Asai Ultrasound Imaging 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426. That's 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426.